You're listening to CAAT Tales, the podcast of SLC Faculty Local 417, your union connection. Each episode, we bring you real stories from our members, practical tips on your rights, and the kind of information that helps us all move forward.
Welcome back to CAAT Tales. I'm your host, Julie White. We've got another packed episode today that reminds us of why our members and their stories matter. Today's a special one. We're launching a brand new feature for our local, Belonging at the Kitchen Table. This is our space for deeper conversations about culture, identity, and the lived experiences that shape our classrooms and our community. It's intimate, it's thoughtful, and we're thrilled to open this series with a beautiful conversation hosted by Ekta Singh. We're also checking in with members in our Member Spotlight segment. This week, we're touching base with Stacey Airhart and her daughter Aspen, who are fully embracing the snowy weather and diving into the 1,000 Hours Outside initiative. A reminder that joy, connection, and fresh air are part of our well-being and our community too. But first, we're shifting into one of my favorite recurring segments, Get to Know Your LEC. Today, we're spotlighting one of our very first part-time sessional faculty stewards, someone who brings curiosity, courage, and a whole lot of heart to Local 417. Settle in for our rapid-fire session with Lisa Macdonald. What is your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure, I guess maybe binge watching my favorite show. I'm a big CBC fan, so I'm drawn to their television as well as podcasts. So I listen to a show which I like a lot, and this is about a person, Elamin Abdul Mahmood. He has a strong connection to Kingston. He immigrated to Canada as a young person, and then he attended Queen's, and now he's a CBC radio host, and it's called Commotion. So I really listen to him every time I can.
Excellent. All right. And you find that on CBC podcasts?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Next question. What superpower do you wish you could have for just one day?
Yeah. I think invisibility is something I like to be in spaces. I've always, I'll go to a coffee shop and I'll just sit and I'll watch people. So being invisible might add another dimension to it, to be just part of the space and observe.
I get that. It's the how can I be a fly on the wall and listen to those conversations and watch what's happening around me. I love it. Okay, so the next one. Every article of the clothing you own is either covered with fluorescent polka dots or every article of clothing is made of spandex. Which would you prefer?
Polka dots.
You can backpack around the world for 6 months with little money or stay at a luxurious resort, all expenses paid for 2 weeks.
I like to be close to wherever I am, the earth, and just be close to people around, just be that traveler and not the tourist. And backpacking really helps in that.
Have you traveled a lot, Lisa?
Yes, I've traveled a lot and also lived in a lot of different countries. So it's been a way to know people and how the geography helps in changing the same things, how we do them, and decoding all those languages and understanding people's body language. It really excites me. And knowing the history of a place also is something which I like. And sometimes I feel I want to go back in history. How would it be? There are different places, and some places are still at a different part of history, and there's some which are so advanced. And the story which I'm remembering right now, which I like, is Murdoch Mysteries, because they explore that social change, the ethics and institutions. And living in Kingston, it's a place which has such a strong sense of history, and how you see that how it has actually made me also more attentive to how the past continues to shape present day systems. So I'm constantly trying to do that, being in the past, present, and seeing how we've evolved.
All right. So your superpower may actually be time travel as well.
Yes. 2 things.
If you had to give up your phone or coffee for a month, which one would it be?
Phone.
You could live without your phones?
Yes. I think that, in fact, it's like something where I like to have my chai or tea, and it helps you to pause and take time to reflect on different things. If I didn't have the phone, it won't worry me. Actually, I did a session in which for 10 days you had to live in a camp with hundreds of people, but you don't talk to each other. And you're just with yourself. You have food, but you don't talk. So it's a silent kind of a camp. So it helps you to go inward. And it's a very nice natural surrounding. So I could do that. And a lot of people said, oh my God, 10 days. It's again that whole thing about observing and going with things around you.
That's neat. Okay, when you were a child, what profession did you want to be?
I think I wanted to write things, and they changed over a period of time. There was some time where I wanted to be a writer, and there were times when I wanted to be a singer. And I did write a lot, but for myself. I have diaries, and I was drawn to even books which people talked about writing, and then singing, which was also a way to voice what you want to, sometimes you can't say it in a conversation, but it always brought people together. The singing always brought people together. So I wanted to be a singer.
Right. Who has been the most influential person in your life?
It's been my dad. He's not there anymore, but I think about him often. I know that always wanting me to get the best out of me and wanting me to open my heart and mind to new ways of doing things, because I came from a small mining town in India. And my dad was working in the railroads, and he met a lot of people, and the town was small. Everybody knew each other. And maybe that's one of the reasons I like Kingston, because I'm coming back to a place which is also closely knit. We could travel a lot, and he wanted me to get that option of. So he's the one who's been important to me, to always know people and see where they come from, because we don't know what we don't know. So you've got to see people's circumstances, you've got to see their experiences, and that resonates with me. When you have to be understanding and we care about people, you have to know where they come from.
And finally, what's a challenge that you've overcome that's helped shape you?
I think a random skill I have is, because I traveled a lot and also met so many people from different cultures, I have this ability of switching between cultures and as well as perspectives. I'm good at helping people feel comfortable and understood. So if I'm in a workplace setting, I can see two people can experience the same issue very differently, depending upon their background or even communication style. I'll be able to bridge that gap so that conversations stay respectful, so there is some kind of solution. And that's something I pride myself, because many times when I go back to India, I have to change how I'm thinking compared to Canada.
Yeah. And that's probably a very nice segue for us to get into more of our in-depth discussion about who you are and kind of how you got to SLC in your journey here.
Yeah. So, when you are speaking or you're coming to this conversation, I feel I'm wearing so many different hats, being that educator, and my background is in history, the historian hat. I like research, and I've spent a lot of time working alongside people navigating complex systems, whether it's in education or in workplaces or even in communities. So lived experience is very important in how people show up. And one of the reasons why I joined the union was because there is so much emphasis on solidarity and collective responsibility. So the state I came from, West Bengal, the unions were very strong. And so that kind of stays with you, right? How it shapes you. So when I came here and became a union member, and OPSU has this emphasis on solidarity, the idea that people shouldn't have to carry challenges alone and that systems should be there to support fairness at work was really resonating. And in my own cultural tradition, it's a difficult Sanskrit word, Vasudeva Kutumbakam. It means the world is one family. And so that really aligned with that union principle that our well-being is interconnected. And the second concept was of seva or service, which is contributing not for that individual recognition, but because supporting one another is responsibility. And those two framings have shaped how I approach my roles, whether it's in education or advocacy or now even in union engagement.
So how did you get into teaching?
I've always been somebody who wants to share what I have. I was mentoring and coaching. My background in organizational development, human resources, I always enjoyed the part where you could be that catalyst and be that partner with people to bring their best self to work. When I joined the college, at that time, the student population was very internationally diverse. And so it was shaping a lot of those conversations, which were important to me, and making students more work ready. So that is the reason I thought if there's a pathway getting me to that direction and I can be at the front line, be that frontline person helping people, they reach the workforce later, was what drove me into teaching. And if you, at that stage, if you are helping people to feel engagement and belonging, then that helps the workforce.
And when it comes to belonging, and I'm not sure what your transition was into Canada, but for a lot of international students, when it comes to belonging, being taught and having experiences shared with you by people who look like you, is that important?
Yes, definitely. That played a part about their feeling that I've been there, done that, and I'll be able to hold their hand in wherever they are in that journey because I've experienced it, and they could be more open about their challenges. And I continue to do that. I'm with other student groups and professional groups where it's easier to talk about those things or feel heard or feel supported. And I think as a union steward, that's the kind of mindset I want to bring too, like listening to people carefully so that you can help them feel supported in complex situations.
I know you're a part-time faculty rep, and part-time and sessional members are working towards their first collective agreement. Is there anything there that you're kind of excited about working on or working towards, or do you have any specific goals coming up in the next little while?
Yeah, so having gone through some of the trainings, it really helps to shape what could be the next steps. And one of the things we are doing, we want to map out our membership so that we know who our members are and then get to know them better just as members. So
do you have any goals right now as basically an organizer with Local 417 as we're getting our part-time membership established and more active?
yes, one of the immediate goals I want to focus on is around, because I'm a part-time steward. Many of the part-time staff do not, right now they're not paying union dues because we are still at the pre-bargaining stage trying to get our own collective agreement in place. So we need for them to sign up for the union cards and membership. That involvement and engagement is important for our membership.
Signing up doesn't mean you start paying union dues then. You start paying union dues when you have a collective agreement, but signing up means that more money comes back to the local. It also signifies to OPSU, our union, that we have more people in the workforce. Therefore, we get more say when it comes to things like bargaining and when it comes to decision-making within the union. So you're going to be around in the college, and there's certainly other stewards that are going to be out and about kind of across our Kingston, Brockville, Cornwall campuses. We've heard from our part-time and sessional pre-bargaining representatives provincially that they're going to be taking on a more active role in coming weeks, and we'll be connecting with them here on the podcast as well, just to get more information out. So Lisa, you're out there just trying to get as many folks engaged and aware as possible. Is that right?
Yes, that's going to be an important task, which I'll be doing in the coming months.
I know within your culture, storytelling is really important to you, and it's a great way of being able to engage people. And it's certainly something that you've brought to the union, Lisa. Do you have any stories about kind of how you're engaging folks through stories?
Yeah, one of the projects that's been very meaningful to me here in Kingston is the Shoe Project, which had created space for immigrant women to share their stories in their own voices. Shoes was the connection. And what I appreciated was that shared point of connection where we could retain the ownership of our stories, which is for me what meaningful inclusion looks like. My involvement was about speaking about stories, and then those stories, when they were shared, just reinforced my belief that belonging is not built through abstraction, but through very intentional spaces that honor voice, dignity, and agency. And that, for me, captures what inclusion should look like, creating places where people are seen, they are heard, and respected through the stories. We might know who our membership is, but each voice has a different story, and those stories have a powerful way of bringing people together.
So we've almost come full circle back to when you wanted to be that writer when you were a child. You're out there gathering stories now, bringing everyone together, tying those threads together.
Yeah, whether you're in that classroom or you're in a union role or anywhere, translating those experiences into insights that will help us to act with more care and fairness and making us all accountable.
Grab a cup of coffee and pull up a chair. It's time for Belonging at the Table with host Ekta Singh.
Welcome to Belonging at the Table, where we sit down with faculty from across Kingston, Cornwall, and Brockville to share stories that don't always make it into our bios. I'd like to think of this as a kitchen table conversation where we start with something simple, maybe a favorite food, a family memory, a sound from home, and then we dig into some deeper questions of who we are, how we teach, and what it means for us to belong here at SLC together. Each month, in connection with perhaps a cultural event or a cultural significance, we will have a colleague join us to share how their culture, identity, and lived experience shapes the classrooms that we're still learning to create. I'm Ekta, and I'm your host and curious colleague. I'm so thrilled to welcome Sephora Kerekou, who is a faculty member with us in the School of Professional and Innovation Services. Welcome, Sephora.
Thank you, Ekta. Thank you for having me.
We're so excited to have you here with us for our first segment, Belonging at the Kitchen Table. To start us off, can you talk a little bit about your background, where you're from, and a bit about your professional background as well?
Sure. Talking about background where I'm from, I actually grew up in Benin, which is a French-speaking country in West Africa. In terms of educational background, I have a Bachelor of Science in Accounting and also a Master of Business Administration in Accounting. These two degrees, I actually got them from the US, from the States. And my most recent degree is a PhD in International Management from Université Laval in the city of Quebec. So in terms of experience, I've been teaching for many years from the time I was a PhD student. That's where I actually discovered my passion for teaching. And I've been teaching for many years. I taught in the School of Business, starting at Université Laval, several courses in the management area, business administration area. And then to St. Lawrence College, moved to the city of Kingston, of course, and when I'm also teaching various courses. Yeah, and one more thing. I also do own my business on the side. This is something that I've started like not very long ago, but I do own a business where I kind of focus on food, African food. Trying to cater towards clients, right? Different categories of food. So this is something that I've started not too long ago, and I'm still working on it.
Goodness, that is so impressive. So this is a catering food business where you're selling African foods?
Mostly like West African food, but it's more like dry food, right? Things that are, non-perishable items that I'm actually focusing on.
Wow. So we have a PhD doctor, we have a teacher educator, and we have an entrepreneur as well. So many hats you wear, Sephora, and it's been such a pleasure to get to know this side of you. So I'm going to begin with a question to have sort of you think about home and family. And the first question is, when you think about home, what's one food, drink, or kitchen smell that comes to mind, and who are you with when you taste it?
So, thank you for your question. One dish that comes to my mind is going to be couscous. And um, at the table, the people that I see will be my grandparents, my parents, my siblings, friends, and also, having people that I hadn't known before. Something else that comes to my mind will be the warmth, the laughter, the connections. Okay, that comes with this particular moment. Like, let's say the joy of being together.
So for our listeners that may not know what is couscous or what country or culture it comes from, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So couscous, I would say, is a dish that comes from Northern Africa, but is also eaten in, different African countries. So it's normally eaten with some, meats, and comes with like a stew, like a veggie stew. So that's what I can tell you about couscous.
That's the food, that's the dish that brings you a lot of joy. Okay. So let's talk a bit about your cultural family backgrounds. And when we talk about the metaphor of the kitchen table, what parts of that table, so those values, those stories, those tensions, do you carry with you when you walk into a classroom at St. Lawrence College?
So, I would say that my cultural background actually foster a strong appreciation for storytelling as a teaching tool. Okay, so I, grew up in an environment where, we're told a lot of stories. Okay, so I tend to actually incorporate anecdotes and illustrations in order to engage students and emphasize on the importance of diverse perspectives. Also, my lived experiences kind of shape uh, my teaching style as well as my mentorship style. And I do tend to prioritize things like empathy, understanding, but at the same time, I do like to maintain high expectation for respect and for accountability as well as for honesty. So I would say these are the things that I bring, with me to the classroom when it comes to teaching or to mentoring students and stuff like that.
Indeed, storytelling is a powerful tool, not only to teach, but to also establish belonging and connection with our students. So I think that's a really beautiful example of how you bring, that value into your classroom, and I'm sure students really appreciate that. When we talk about values and feeling a sense of connection and belonging, can you share a moment at SLC or in Kingston when you, as a faculty member, felt deeply seen in your identity, and what might have made that possible?
Well, if I have to talk about such moment, like what actually come immediately to my mind will be, our annual holiday lunch and also the employee barbecue that we normally have like at the end of August that mark the beginning of the new academic year. I would say these are the two moments for me that I do see as, as moment of belonging.
And is it the collective sharing of food and everybody gathering together?
Yes, it's a collective sharing of food for me and everybody gathering together because, as faculty, once the semester starts, it's very difficult for us to connect. So I do see these moments as opportunities for faculty to come together and at least connect, discuss, exchange, laugh, share experience and stuff like that. So these moments for me are meaningful moments, and these are moments that I do like to participate in.
It's a great example. I echo your feelings around colleagues getting together and laughing. I think it's really, when we have great weather in August too, I remember it is really beautiful to sit outside in the sunshine and see everybody and, connect and get motivated for the start of a new school year. I'm wondering now, Sephora, if you could share a moment on the flip side where perhaps you have felt or a challenging experience related to related to your background or culture. Have you ever experienced a moment like that?
Well, something that's coming to my mind would be instances where students will, for example, make negative comments, right, without proper context. And I've kind of observed, in the past, sometimes colleague, who were kind of quick to side with the students. And during those moments, right, something that I wish is, or I was thinking about is, well, while addressing students' need is essential, it's also equally important to uphold fairness and professionalism toward one another. During those moments, I kind of felt like, it's very important to seek context before jumping to conclusions, you know, um, and when concerns arise, it's also very important to kind of approach them with active listening, while allowing faculty the opportunity as well to clarify and share their own perspective. And I strongly believe that it's, through these moments that we can all create a learning environment, that is something that is respectful, not only for students, but also for educators. Moments where we can, I mean, times where we can all be feel valued, where we can feel safe, and where we can also feel supported. So I'm not really sure if this answers the question, but this actually for me, but this for me is a particular challenge that I've observed in the past in my time of teaching at SLC.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That is indeed a very powerful example in terms of the ways in which we can support faculty who come from racialized backgrounds and when
Right.
students may share opinions, perspectives that may or may not be true, it is very important to ensure that faculty feel supported. There's context, and I think you raise a really important point in these small but powerful things that we can do to ensure, like you said, that fairness, equity, assuming the best is built into our practices and built into the ways in which we support faculty. Thank you for sharing that example. So February is a very special month in our community and across the world, where we celebrate Black History and Black Futures Month. Outside of these walls at St. Lawrence College and in the community, what does Black History Month feel like around your kitchen table?
For me, Black history is like a time to reflect, right? Um, on the struggles and also on the achievements of Black individuals, celebrate resilience as well. Black History Month is also, let's say, a time for conversation, right, about some of the challenges that Black communities are still facing today. And it should also serve as a valuable opportunities to kind of educate other people, other communities about Black culture, Black history, just to kind of foster some forms of understanding and appreciation. So that's for me what Black history means, and that's how I see it. So
Indeed, yeah, indeed,
yeah.
having conversations and moments to reflect, and even in our own sectors, right? Celebrating, as you said, Black excellence and looking at individuals who have contributed to various sectors in Canada that come from Black background or ancestry. When you see at the college moments and activities where we are activating Black History Month, or even in the city of Kingston, where we activate events around Black History Month, in your opinion, what feels nourishing? What feels authentic? And then on the flip side, what might feel more performative or draining around this month?
Well, of course, what I've actually noticed, for those few years of me living in Kingston, is that during this month, there's actually a lot of festivities going on, right? So you'll notice that there are different um Black communities that are, hosting different events, lots of events for, you will see the Francophone, for example, hosting something, and you also have the English speaking Black communities that are also hosting, some events around this particular month, which is all good. What I actually like seeing is the promotion of Black businesses, because it actually gives us an exposure of what people are doing within the Black communities. Okay. Being able to see new businesses or existing businesses, see products and services that are out there that we can actually go and support. This is something that I really like seeing throughout that Black History Month. So I think this is something that, should be celebrated, and I think we should probably raise more awareness regarding those Black businesses that are out there striving.
Absolutely. That's a great point about supporting Black businesses. So as we wrap up our conversation today, we're here on behalf of our union, Local 417, and we are trying to take steps to be more intentional in how we approach diversity, equity, and inclusion in our work. And from your perspective, if our union took one big, brave step for Black faculty this coming year, what would that look like in practice to you? What would you like to see?
I first of all want to thank the union for the hard work that they're already doing. They've been working very hard, and this is something that I want to acknowledge. Taking one big step. To be honest, nothing is actually coming up to my mind. And it might be because I'm already feeling supported, right? Um, so I really haven't thought about something else that they can do.
I think one of the things that you touched upon with the students, sometimes, our student population may look very different, than our faculty population too. And if there is some misunderstandings or challenges, maybe even just some suggestions around anti-racism training, or more awareness on equity, diversity, and inclusion. And in fact, it sounds like that could be an area that we could work on, perhaps with more training on how to support racialized or Black faculty that maybe have accusations or unfair treatment from students, and sort of how administration, for example, could facilitate that conversation or process in a more supportive way.
I do believe that especially, when you have students complaining of of faculty being racist, when the faculty themselves is considered part of minority, right? Or just taking things out of context just to make their way out. And I'm talking about students, right? Coming up with stories against faculty, you're just like looking at it and you're just wondering, where is that coming from? Like, what is even the background of, the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that if the union can do something, it's probably to support faculty, especially those who face, this type of treatment from students, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of course we do understand that, we have to support students, but at the same time, I do believe that being respectful and asking, taking accountability is something that is very important. And this is something where I don't necessarily see support, right, when towards the faculty, because I always, when an issue like that arises, I kind of feel like, support is given to students is as though, okay, right, this is what the student is facing, let's deal with that. But then, like, people are not really looking at what is the background of the story, what really happened, right? It's as though, okay, students are just given, some forms of reasons, right? And faculty are just like left on the side, no support, nothing to address the situation and stuff like that. So maybe this is something, maybe some forms of training or maybe some forms of support that the union can actually think about, when it comes to not just like minorities, but also our faculty, because I'm pretty sure that, there are also other faculties that are going through the same situations. Some just decide to speak about it, some just decide to, be quiet about it. But, I think the union can actually do something about it, providing some forms of training or, some sort of support, to faculty that go through this type of situation. So, yeah.
Right. Great. That's a really great example. Thank you. And really applicable to the experience here at St. Lawrence College. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that example.
Thank you.
As we end our session today, I'm wondering if you can share one word that represents how you feel for February and the importance of Black History Month. And it can be, here's another thing, it can be in your native language or it can be in English.
That one word for me is going to be resilience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, your background, your story, a little bit about who you are and how you bring yourself to the classroom, and also sharing your thoughts on the importance of Black History Month. We're so happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Ekta.
And now it's time for another edition of Member Spotlight.
Family Day is coming up next week, and with the freezing cold temperatures we've been experiencing, we thought we'd turn to one of our resident experts and her special sidekick to help us think about how we can spend more quality time outdoors all year round. Stacey Airhart is a full-time professor in the School of Professional Services and Innovation. She and her daughter Aspen are joining us today to talk about a global initiative that they're part of, 1,000 Hours Outside. Welcome, Stacey and Aspen. Stacey, can we start with a bit of an overview on where you're teaching right now?
I'm teaching at St. Lawrence College in the at the Kingston campus in the Human Resources program. I started in 2022, so I'll be coming up. It'll be 4 years in September. Right now, I'm teaching health and safety, compensation. I've taught employment law, human resources management. I have taught training and development. I have taught labor relations. So a whole gamut of courses within the HR program.
So when it comes to health and safety, obviously getting people up and moving is one of those things that you're keen on.
Yes, most definitely. I definitely recognize with our rule Obviously, it offers that we get to be in front of students for a certain amount of hours per week, but anyone who's a faculty member knows that a lot of time is also spent in front of the computer. So making sure that we are carving out time to get up and moving in our day is something that is essential for all of us.
We've got Family Day coming up, and I know people are looking for fun things to do with their family. Stacey, you've got a special guest with us today. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about the activities that you're doing?
Yeah. So our family has been participating in 1,000 hours outside. And so what it is throughout the year, you track the number of hours that you have been spending outdoors. So this year is the 5th year that we have participated in the 1,000 hours outside initiative. And so we already were an outdoors family. But then I had seen promoted that you could actually get these really neat trackers off the 1,000 Hours Outside website. And so we decided to take the challenge. And so we have been spending lots of time outside doing lots of different activities that maybe Aspen can go over some of her favorite things that we do as a family outdoors.
Yeah, my favorite thing doing outdoors is hikes, cross-country skiing, tobogganing, camping, kayaking, bonfires, swimming, and walks.
So it sounds like you do a lot of fun things.
Yeah.
What about during the cold weather? Do you have a favorite thing to do during the cold weather?
Usually, bonfires.
Bonfires are nice, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you like to hike in the snow?
Yeah. Pretty fun doing that workout, kind of.
Yeah. And how many hours do you have in? Do you know right now?
So we just calculated January's hours. And so for January, I think we were at 71 hours for 2026 so far.
Wow. And I'm assuming you probably did this in 2025.
Yeah, we've done it for 5 years.
And how many hours did you get last year? Do you know?
That is a great question.
Did you
I
make
know
the goal?
we did. We met the goal late November, so I'm not sure we did the final calculation on our monthly tabulation, but I know we definitely went over the 1,000.
Okay. So Stacey, you go in and you can download some information from the website itself.
Yeah, the website has some great information. Their sort of motto is turning screen time into green time. So promoting kids not being on screens and being outside. Obviously, it's also applicable to adults because we also spend lots of time on screens. So it's not just for kids. But they have a section on their website that has the trackers, and they're free downloadable trackers. And I've chosen just to get it printed off on like an 18 by 24 poster at Staples. And so we have it hung up in our house. And so when Aspen completes hours within her day, then she's able to color off how many hours that she's completed.
And do you do all the hours together, or does each person kind of have their own?
So it all depends. So every year we just ask the kids, are you interested in participating again? So last year, both my daughter and son did it. And then so this year when we asked again, my son wasn't interested in tracking. So Aspen just has her own 1,000 Hours Outside tracker this year.
And do any of your friends do it, Aspen?
I don't really know.
Okay. Have you talked to them about it?
Yeah, I've talked to someone in my class who sits beside me in his desk.
Yeah. I bet you are probably pretty lucky to be able to go out and do all the fun things that you're doing outside with mom.
Yeah, it works out too. So if you divide 1,000 hours outside by the 365, it actually works out to about 2.7 hours per day. So almost 3 hours per day that you have to get. So this time of year in the winter months, it's actually quite difficult. And so you also have to choose how you're going to track your hours. So for instance, we choose that we do track when Aspen's out at recess at school. So she gets like 2 20-minute recesses, and then we walk to school and we walk home every day. So at least she gets 1 hour. But this time of year, it is difficult. And so we most often in January and February, we don't always obviously hit the 3 hours, but you make up for that in the warmer months when obviously there's days in the summertime when you can get 7, 8, sometimes 9, 10-hour days. If you're camping, you can even get more hours. There is a little bit of a thing on the Facebook groups for 1,000 hours outside of, controversy about, do you track the hours when you're in the tent for sleeping that you're outside, or do you not? So we don't track those hours, but really it's up to the family and what they decide to do.
Yeah. And do you have a favorite place that you like to go camping?
The Brockville Molly's Gut Island.
I've not been there.
Yeah, so we typically do canoe-in, paddle-in sites. So this one is just outside of Brockville, and you get the whole island to yourself. So it's really fun because the kids can run around and explore. It's quite a small island, but it's really neat for them to be able to run around and explore.
Yeah. And you've probably seen an awful lot of this area because you're out and exploring all the time. And are there any things that you're looking forward to right now?
Going on another ski with my mom after school.
Yeah. Do you cross-country ski?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do you do that? Do you go to Cataraqui or do you do it just from home?
Little Cat.
Little Cat, yeah. That sounds like
Yeah.
fun.
So this afternoon, for instance, I was able to pick her up from school and we were able to go and do a ski at Little Cat. So we would have gotten an hour there that Aspen can put on her tracker tonight, along with her time that she spent out at recess. So today will be probably a 2-hour day that we're able to track.
That's so cool. You guys are doing fantastic things.
Mm-hmm.
And where did you hear about it, Stacey? How did you learn about it first?
It was when I was off on maternity leave initially with Aspen, because the first time I did it, she was actually quite small. And I thought, we spend a lot of time outside. I'd really love to start tracking how much we actually spend outside. So when I was off on maternity leave, it was much easier, obviously, to get the hours in. But even as a family who feels like we spend a lot of time outside, I find we still have to it makes us intentional about, okay, like, let's go eat dinner outside on the back porch. Can we do this outside, something in the summertime that maybe we would normally do inside? Can we have our games night outside? Or maybe let's have a bonfire tonight. So it really pushes you to think and get creative with what you can do outside, which is, only great things happen from spending time outside.
Yeah. And have there been any kind of really memorable moments for you kind of in doing this?
What do you think?
Probably for my mom today when we were cross-country skiing. I did a race with her and cross-country skiing, and I won. So it's like she thought that when I was 12, I would probably beat her, not 7.
That's crazy. Got a future Olympian coming up.
That's what my mom just said.
It's such a neat initiative.
Yeah, and I think it's important for families and individuals who are interested in doing this, knowing that, it's not that you have to be camping every weekend or you don't have to be climbing mountains to be able to accomplish this. And even if you don't meet the goal, that's okay, because obviously it's just that you've spent more time, intentional time, thinking like, I need to get outside. And so it's just simple things, even like taking the dog for an extra walk or playing in the backyard. And as I said, it could be eating dinner outside. And really, it's not, it's more about creating that consistent habit rather than being perfect at it.
It's fantastic.
And I think for me also, I find that now that we spend so much time outside, that I find that I need that connection with nature. And I just feel like when I've had like a really stressful week, that going out and having that connection, it's just such a stress reliever.
Just kind of getting out and breathing deep in the air.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we are really fortunate here to have the spaces that we do have and kind of how close they are to us as well. So
Oh, exactly. There's some
Yeah.
great conservation areas. I grew up in Brockville, so there's Mac Johnson there, and here in Kingston, we've got Little Cats, and we've got even marshlands that is close to St. Lawrence College that if people wanted to take, a break and walk over there. There's lots of green spaces to be able to explore.
Do you have any favorite animals outside?
Yeah, usually horses. And like when me and my mom were skiing tonight, I was skiing and I saw a deer cross the path. So I really like deers too.
That's cool. And those are the nice things that you can see when you're out enjoying nature.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think it's super meaningful, all of the experiences that we've had in nature. One time we were on a hike and we came across some people who were hiking that had found a baby fawn. And so we were able to be part of that process about taking it off to Sandy Pines. And it was just like one of those things that you will probably never experience again in a lifetime. That will be like a core memory for Aspen and Easton and I for a lifetime. Last summer, we went to Frontenac Park, and so we canoed in, and then we did a portage into another lake. And do you want to tell Julie what happened?
And there was there's a snake there, and we kept catching so many fish, and the snake kept trying to bite them.
Wow. That's
It
good.
was kind of like when I caught like a big fish like this, it was just trying to bite it, and the fish kept flapping its tail to try to survive.
Well, the fish knew you were going to let it go. It didn't want the snake to get it.
Yeah.
And we have lots of adventure buddies. We have 2 twins that we hang out with, and we try to create mini like adventures like I just described in Frontenac Park. And in November, we did an adventure and we went to do the Blue Mountain hike, which is near Lansdowne, Ontario. It's not the Blue Mountain out in Western Ontario, but we tell Julie what you guys did on that adventure.
We biked in, and then we locked our bikes to a tree, and then hiked the rest, and then hiked back down, and then rode our bikes through the puddles and stuff. And I fell, and then my bike fell on top of me.
Oh, no. I hope you didn't get hurt.
No, I didn't. And my brother did that too, and we got all wet, and it was pretty fun.
And that was in November?
It was November, the very first snowfall that we had. So
Ah.
there was some snow. You guys had difficulty with your tires, but it was super fun for them to be able to. I knew the hike might be a little bit challenging, so there's a long, basically unassumed road on the way out. So we thought, okay, well then we'll bring the bikes for them to, switch it up to do something different on the way
Yeah.
out, and it was fantastic. They loved it.
That sounds like so much fun.
And what is the one new sport that you tried with our dog Sky this winter?
Skijoring. That's like when you hook your dog up, this big harness on its stomach, and there's this harness that goes on you on your waist and down, not on your legs though. And then you kind of ski, and the dog kind of pulls you.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah, but she's pretty old, so it wasn't like great like when they're a puppy, but she was still helping us ski.
And do you like to skate?
Yeah. When the weather is not too cold, when my toes are going to be cold. On this past weekend, we went to Ottawa, and we skied through the forest.
Wow, that's neat. And how do you stay warm when it's really cold out?
We woolies and fleece pants and a fleece over top. And then we put hand warmers in our socks, and then put our socks on. And then we put on our snowsuit, and then a hat. Then neck warmer, and then a hat, and then hand warmers and our mitts, and then we put on our mitts, and then we're ready. And then we put on our skates or like whatever cross-country ski boots or boots, whatever sport we're going to do. And then we're ready.
So these really cold temperatures don't bother you at all?
Nope. We still get outside. And in the summertime, we usually put on sunscreen just to make sure we don't get a sunburn.
Smart. All right. And you drink lots of water.
Yep. Or then you'll get unhydrated.
Yeah, you got to stay hydrated. All right. Well, Stacey, thank you so much for this.
No problem. Thanks for having us, Julie.
And thank you, Aspen, for bringing a whole lot of energy to our show, which is great.
So if you had to say one thing to people who are listening, what piece of advice would you give, Aspen?
The more you go outside, the funner it gets, and it starts to feel more like home.
And what about you, Stacey? Do you have a final?
Yeah, I think I would just say to take, I guess, key takeaways for all faculty members here
Yeah, no
at
kidding.
the end of the class is really just trying to carve out some intentional time to get outside. I know even in the winter, it's really difficult, but I mean, even after today, Aspen and I having that ski, it's just, amazing when you are exercising and in nature, and it just gives you a huge sense of relief. And I just always feel energized after I've been outside. So here's a sign to set a goal for yourself to even spend 1 more hour per week outside.
And now, another fun episode of Is It a Gripe or a Grievance?
Hi, Jillian. I asked for 2 consecutive days off for personal reasons that are not covered under the specified leaves of absence, but my associate dean denied the request. Can they do that?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. The collective agreement has both sick days and personal days. The personal days are unpaid, so I would push that those 2 days, consecutive days, would be personal days, and push back that, yes, you can take them, but they will be unpaid. So I would think that is a violation of the collective agreement if they've been denied, because we have a variety of ways to take time. If it's being used for professional development, can it be denied? Yes. Is it sick leave? 2 days for sick leave can't be denied, unless, you've been doing it over and over again, and that's a whole other discussion. But if you have to go to your great Aunt Matilda's home opener, then that's a family day, and that falls under personal days, and you could take those 2, but unpaid.
You've been listening to CAAT Tales, stories that matter to faculty and beyond. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, visit slcfaculty.ca, and stay connected with us on social media.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the speakers and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policies, positions, or statements of OPSU, CEFPO, St. Lawrence College, or any affiliated organizations. This podcast is provided for informational and educational purposes only. While every effort is made to ensure accuracy, SLC Faculty Local 417 makes no representations or warranties of any kind express or implied about the completeness, reliability, or suitability of the information shared. Any reliance placed on such information is strictly at the listener's own risk. Music and sound effects used in this podcast are licensed or royalty-free. We respect copyright law and encourage our listeners to do the same.